Hi, guys. John, the firearms instructor, and welcome to our live. It's Tuesday night, 6 o'clock. You know where you should be, sitting in front of your computer or your phone and watching this live with you and me. We appreciate you here. We're a little early. We're going to give a few seconds to let people pop in. We've got a great show this evening. We're going to be covering a lot of different stuff. We've got exciting news. I am an author now. I just did a ebook and I have promoted. We're trying to promote it, and we're using this live this evening to help promote this. If you know the drill, if you're on tonight's podcast live, whatever you want to call this thing, live. They call them the live podcast now because we are using audio and video in this thing. So if you're on it, please tell us where you're from. If you're new, let us know you're new. If you're one of our regular hanger honors, we appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much from my family and myself for supporting a small family owned business through my journey through YouTube. We appreciate it very much. God bless you to the bottom of my heart. Well, it's been a decent week so far. It's only Tuesday. I know my beautiful bride was off last week for spring break. Her and I got to go to the beach on Thursday, and I sunburned the top of my foot. I had everything else covered but my foot. But I got sunburned, but we ended up enjoying it. The water was cold. We didn't get in too deep. We did get our toesies wet, but the Fort Myers beach is strong as it can be. I'm proud of those people down there. They went through hell and now they're getting back on their horses and working out pretty well. That's pretty awesome. We are, if someone could give me a heads up or let me know you can hear me pretty well, we would appreciate that very much. We're going to try to get this podcast live, whatever you want to call this thing, to about 25 people watching it tonight. We're at 6 right now. Hopefully, it'll get stronger and stronger as we go. We will be right back after these messages from our sponsor, Aura. Spam emails and everything else like that. Well, Aura is a company that will protect you from scams, frauds, and online threats. Did you know that 1 out of 4 will fall victim to some kind of online crime? Did you know that America lost over $10.3 billion in online crime? Aurora is a company that has an all-in-one protection plan for you. It'll keep your family safe from hackers, fraudsters, and online predators. Each plan comes with $1 million identity theft insurance. With a single, couple, or family plan, they have one that'll fit your needs. Take advantage of the family plan because it'll protect up to 5 adults and it includes children. If you'd like to, Aura giving us a special deal that we're allowing you to take a 14-day free trial by clicking the link above. Protect yourself with Aura. All right, welcome back. Aura is one of those companies you got to make sure you protect yourself. You know, 1 out of 4 of us are going to find ourselves in some kind of online crime. Happened to me last week. Had one of my credit cards sabotaged. And obviously it's something that they jumped on right away and took care of. That family of 4 is pretty cool because a family of 5, you do not have to live with each other to be in this system, and it protects up to 50 iPhones, iPads, anything else like that, and it's cheaper than 2 Big Macs and fries and a soda. That's the cool thing about that. If you take the 14-day trial and you don't like it for some reason or another, you do not have to pay for it, folks. But it's given me a lot of, I'm getting updates almost every day about stuff they're finding, whether it be my social security card or one of my passwords has been compromised. It's telling me stuff every day. I highly recommend you do it. In the description and the link, we're going to put that 14-day trial in there. Click on it, find out. Now, I haven't done a lot of what they want you to do because you could protect everything you have: credit cards, your mortgage, your title to your cars, your titles to your cars. I mean, they're looking at everything in the backside of it, and it's very economical. I think a single is like $12, and I think the adult thing got to like 35 or 40. It's well worth it, guys. So you get an opportunity to take care of the sponsors who take care of us. We appreciate that very much. Okay, so we decided uh, about 6 months ago, I decided to write a book, and I started playing around with it. And I wasn't sure what to do with it, and I started looking through my YouTube channel, and I found a little thing that people were going nuts over. And I did a video about 6 months, 7 months ago, is why you shoot low and left. And as Jacob and I researched it, we had 10,000 views on two videos and almost 750 comments on those two videos. And they were asking pretty much all the same thing. Why am I doing it? Why am I shooting low and left? And no one could figure it out. So I said, you know what? Maybe this could be a good little thing to do. So I put it together, a little book that I kind of played with, and I added to it and took it away. And Miss Johnson and Johnny, my son, and Jacob, we all kind of threw our heads together and kind of played around with it. And we put together 6 or 7 chapters of why, what it is, what's the fundamentals of it, why it's happening. And most people consume our product through video. But we started the podcast. A lot of people were consuming our stuff through audio, just listening to it. And those people started asking the same questions. So I thought what I would do is put a book together with a playlist of what the book is saying. So we have like 10 videos of why you shoot low and left and how to solve it. That's on a playlist on our YouTube channel. And then I put the book corresponding to that playlist as well as some other stuff. So I think you could be able to purchase the book, which is cheap. It's $9.99. It's an ebook, so you get it instantly. You're going to be able to read it. You own it at that point in time. And then you could go back and look at my YouTube channel and visually watch the videos that correspond to the chapters that are in the book. And I think this is going to be a neat way for us to educate you in multiple different ways. And it seems to me it's going to be a great option for a lot of people who are having problems with low and left. And, yeah, obviously low and left is normally a right-handed student shooting low and left, but it's a left-handed student. They're just shooting low and right. It's the same exact stuff. It's just the opposite side. So we put together it. I've got it going through Amazon. I've got it going through my Shopify store. I've got it going through any of my YouTube videos. There's going to be a store below that'll be able to click on it. And at that point in time, you can purchase it, download it, and read it and get yourself all. There's some pictures, there's some video, and there's some, uh, you know, chapters and things like that. And it's like a regular old ebook, so you could forward to one chapter, go away from another chapter. It's pretty cool. I'm kind of, I'm kind of impressed by it. To be honest with you, I didn't think I could get it to that point. It's not a 2,500 page book, but it is something. And this is we call this the Mastering Your Aim series. And we're going to put together a couple of these. The first one was why do you shoot low and left? The next one's going to be grip, why the grip is so important. And then we're going to keep going. We're going to add to them. We're going to add to them. We're going to add to them. And we'll see what we come up with. I think it's going to help tremendously as a firearms instructor to have multiple streams of knowledge for you to consume and hopefully share with other people and maybe comment a little bit and let me know, hey, this is working or this didn't work for me. And, especially in the Amazon thing, when you buy it from Amazon, you have to physically comment, give me a review on the book, and that'll help tremendously. So we have a couple comments up here. Let's grab them real quick, see where they are. All right. Hello, y'all. Okay. Good audio. Thank you, Tristan. I appreciate it very much. Tristan, where are you from, buddy? Let me know that, please. We would appreciate that. So let's go ahead and pull up the low and left PowerPoint presentation, and we are going to start this evening. And I know we've done a couple of different styles of this, but people keep asking about it, so we're going to keep throwing it at the wall. If you want to, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our link to the Shopify store, which is on any of our YouTube channels. That is there. If you want to take your phone and make a click on it, or maybe do a screenshot of that, you'll be able to see it there. But it'll be on the description of this in a few minutes here, so you won't have a problem with that once this is over. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go full screen, and I am going to stay off, but I'm going to be able to still talk to you. All right. Are you tired of consistently shooting low and left with a handgun? Here are 10 tips to help you improve your accuracy. Now, most of you probably know a few of these, but there's a few in there that aren't so common. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know if you're right-handed and right-eye dominant, or right-handed, left-eye dominant. That'll make a big difference on what we're doing this evening. There are 10 people looking right now. 10. We are we want to get to 25. So hopefully, any friends or family that are watching this evening and they're not watching, make sure you contact them to watch. Yeah, so shooting low and left is a very common thing. It happens to the best of us. It happens to me all the time. It's about how the gun's setting in your hand. There's a lot of different things that correlate to shooting low and left. There's anticipation. There's pulling the trigger and pressing the trigger. We're going to cover all these as we do this evening. But I think you got to get your head around it. Last time you went to the range, you can comment below if you'd like. Last time you went to the range, did you shoot low and left, or were you shooting high and right, or were you doing something else besides that, or were you just perfect? If you're perfect, that's awesome. I'm proud of you. You're one of few. So, shooting a pistol, there's a lot of little things that make the pistol hard to shoot. One of the hardest things to shoot is a handgun, because there's only 2 points of aim, and those 2 points of grip, and there's only 2 places you can hold on to the gun, and it changes an awful lot. So let's go ahead and the first one, and the first one is a little bit about the book. Welcome to Mastering Your Aim, where we delve into the common issues shooting low and left with a handgun. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced shooter, understanding why it happens and how to correct it is crucial for improving your marksmanship. In this ebook, we will explore the reasons behind the phenomenon, dispel the myths, provide practical tips to help you become more accurate and confident with a firearm. And there's the link right there. It is not a live link through these PowerPoint presentations, but you could surely make a screenshot of that if you want to. In addition to this ebook, I have an entire playlist supporting this ebook and help you become a better shooter. Visit our YouTube channel today to check it out. And there's the book cover right there. And you'll find these on Amazon. You'll find them on our YouTube channel, and you will find them on any of our social media contents, whether we're on X or whether we're on Instagram, whether we're on YouTube or any of the Facebook stuff. We have both sides of that. So there are links there on each one of those. Highly recommend you take a look at it. It will help your accuracy. All right. So number one tip is to check your grip. Now, today we had a guy in the range, and he kept digging his thumb. You check these thumbs out. See how the thumbs lay on top of each other? If you're shooting a pistol and you're digging your dominant hand thumb behind your non-dominant hand thumb, imagine if he tucked his thumb behind the other thumb, your non-dominant hand controls the weapon. And the more you try to sandwich the thumbs together, the more you're going to push the gun off to one level or another. And I don't know if you can visually see his finger there, his trigger finger, but see how it's more into the crease of the trigger, and not the tip of the finger. What tends to happen, if I can give you a calculation, is that all your power, all your strength, and all your control comes from your non dominant hand. And your dominant hand just holds the gun. So if you think about it, my dominant hand holds the gun, my dominant hand controls the gun. Because if you look what he's doing here, he's getting double pressure with his non dominant hand and half pressure with his dominant hand. And if you look at that pistol, it looks like it's level. And that's a key factor too when you're shooting. If you're using your wrist to aim the weapon versus using your eyes to aim the weapon, or your waist to aim the weapon, there becomes our problem. Majority of people use their wrist to aim the weapon, not their waist to aim the weapon. And that puts that weapon at an angle that would be very challenging to be accurate, point on, and not shoot low and left. What causes most of your left-handed shooting when you're right-handed is having the weapon over your nose and not over your dominant eye. And I told you many times before that a firearm is a bully, and it takes anything you give it. So imagine if this gentleman was not having his hands high on this weapon. Now, this Glock he's got in his hand, if that dominant hand of his is really high on the tang, so he's not going to get any kind of muzzle flip backwards due to the fact how high he is. But if you could imagine, if you could see daylight between his thumb crease, his dominant hand thumb crease, and the weapon itself, that would allow that front post to flip a little bit. So anytime you have the weapon in your hand, you want to check your grip and make sure your dominant hand is high on the backstrap and it is supported. Your supporting hand is snug against it. This grip you see right here, it's like a puzzle piece. If I remove his non-dominant hand, there is a hole where that dominant hand leaves when it's grabbing a weapon, and that's where your non-dominant hand goes into, and it keeps that gap. If you pay attention to his non-dominant hand first finger, see how it's laying underneath the trigger well, and it's not grabbing the front of the trigger well like that flat spot there, and it's not underneath where your hand would be low and it'd be like teacupping. He's holding that gun and letting it place, and he's controlling the weapon and keeping it from flipping. And flipping causes majority of the problems when you go to push this trigger, that you don't push it down and to the left. Because remember, you're trying to control the weapon, and if you over squeeze with your dominant hand, the bullet normally will go right, it won't go left. Because if you grab your pistol at home and you squeeze really hard with your dominant hand, that weapon will slide off to the left, to the right side of the gun. So what tends to happen, someone pushes out in front of them and under squeezes with their left hand and over squeezes the right hand, that causes more of a problem. But if you squeeze twice as hard with your left hand, but no grip effect on your right hand, there becomes the challenge. So we want to use the best grip we can, high on the backstrap, and your supporting hand snugging against it. That's tip number one. All right, here, focus on trigger press using the pad of your index. I probably have done 20 videos, 25 videos on this. If you pay attention to this trigger this guy's got in his hand today, he's got the tip of his finger rolling into that trigger, and he's not down on that trigger well at all. A lot of people engage a trigger and slide their finger across that trigger well, which is the bottom piece, and that causes that gun to dip low. You want to be off the weapon, just using the crease of your finger, not the tip of your finger, to engage the trigger slowly back. Today we had a class with a young lady and she kept slapping the trigger. She didn't understand what slapping the trigger was. And I was trying to explain to her every time she engaged the trigger, she was pulling it. And she pulling it. I don't understand what you see by pulling it. And I just videotaped her. This is the easiest way to see when you're doing something wrong with the gun and you can't really physically see it. I said, go ahead, shoot. And I just videotaped her for a minute, minute and a half. And we were watching. I put it down to slow motion. And I was watching how much that gun dipped when she engaged the trigger. Matter of fact, she tensed up before she engaged the trigger, which caused the weapon to dip even lower. And there's where we got to start getting that low and left factor because she's driving the gun with her back and she's pressing the trigger with her finger, or trying to, but she doesn't press the trigger. She pulls the trigger and bam, you're pulling it down, you're pulling it down, you're pulling it down. And that just starts getting into that low and left, low and left, low and left. And it's very hard to get out of it once you start that because internally there's a monster inside of us. And each and every one of us is kind of like anticipating the recoil before the weapon goes off. And nobody said, "What? That doesn't happen to me." I guarantee you, everybody has some anticipation. Even myself, 6 months ago, Johnny and I did a video, and I was trying to explain to people about anticipation. And I actually had Johnny load my magazines. And I thought, well, I don't know if it'll get me or not. So I was just slowly engaging the trigger. But he sure did. I thought he put 5 rounds in the magazine. He only put 4. And when I got to that 5th round, I actually jiggered. It got me a little excited because I was worried about, I was trying to anticipate the recoil, which caused a lot of the issues. So if you focus on trigger press, now what is a trigger press? A trigger press is a slow engagement of the trigger until the weapon fires. That's what we're looking for. And use the pad of the index finger. If you think about where your crease is and you think about the end of your finger, between your crease and the end of your finger is that pad area we're talking about. And then just slowly press the trigger back. And what we're trying to do is slowly squeeze it straight back and not avoiding any kind of jerking or trigger or banging on the gun to cause it to manipulate. More manipulation we have with the weapon, the more inaccuracy we're going to have with the weapon. Okay. So I put this driving the pistol. This is kind of one of those deals where people don't understand what that means. We have to control. I want you to think back the last time you went to the range. I don't mean to keep talking about today, but we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 students today. And those 8 students did everything they could to mess up. They're all new, you understand? So they did everything a student would do when they're engaging a trigger. They pulled the trigger, not pressed the trigger. They didn't grip hard enough with their dominant hand. Many years ago, someone told me a very important thing, that you never learn from winning. You learn from losing. And if you kind of take that attitude towards firearms training, it helps out tremendously because as a firearms instructor, we are trying to get you to the point where you understand what a good shot feels like, what a bad shot feels like. And we want to be somewhere in between there. So when you go to the range the next time, I want you to think about how I'm going to control this weapon. And when we talk to women only have a couple ways of controlling the weapon because a man's pecs is attached to the top of his chest. And we tell a man to drive the gun with his pecs. That means pushing both hands out, bringing them together, and pushing your 2 hands together. You'll feel your pecs engage. And most of your driving that weapon with your pecs the power comes from your non-dominant hand, and it makes it easier to hold it poorly and overpower it. So you want to make sure that your dominant hand controls the weapon and your non-dominant hand holds the weapon. For men, we use our pecs. For women, it's about wrist and booty. And I've told you guys this before, but the ladies, it's about taking your dominant hand and pushing it out and pulling back with your non-dominant hand. And we want to activate those back muscles. And as we activate those back muscles, we're going to put some pressure on that weapon. And then we allow our nose to get over our toes. This is where the butt comes out. And then you just push the gun out and you're going to control it. You must have good form. It's harder to overpower a firearm. That's the key thing, because if you don't drive the gun, you're not going to control the gun. And this is kind of a screen I just put in there because I see it all the time where people, I want you to think last time you went to the range, did you have a level pistol? Or was your front post flipping or anticipating? Or, ladies, were you engaging the trigger, and when you went to engage a trigger, the front of the gun dipped when you pressed the trigger, which is very common for ladies. And you can't use your wrist to aim the gun. You need your waist to aim the gun. But when you let that trigger engagement come back and your wrist breaks during the shot, that's where if you're driving the weapon properly, ladies, your wrist won't dip because you can't dip your wrist and drive the gun at the same time. So these are great little tips when you want to control a weapon. Because if someone can't tell a woman to muscle the gun in their hands. Now listen, ladies can do anything a man can do, but the scenario is we need to drive those weapons, no matter if it's a man or a woman, to control it. The only difference is with women is you using your back muscles, where a man's using his pecs. Let's go to the next screen. Pay attention to your stance. This is one of those things that drives me crazy here, because a lot of people stand with 1 foot back or this foot forward or whatever they're trying to do, or 1 foot forward to try to manipulate or anticipate the recoil, which is causing more problems than it's helping you. So you want to, like we said here before, and if I kind of give you my vision of what you need to do, assuming you have no shoes on and you're at the beach, I want you to dig your toes in the sand. And imagine you're digging your toes in the sand and then lift your heels up just enough that you won't fall forward, but you shifted your weight transfer to the toes. This is what we need to pay attention to. Getting our feet shoulder width apart, bouncing on our knees, driving the weapon out, nose over toes, wrist and booty for the ladies, hands and chest for the man, and press the gun out, leaning slowly, keeping your feet shoulder width apart, and lean slightly forward. Now, what this does for us, it transfers our weight to our feet, as well as controls recoil management, because the weapon wants to muscle you backwards. But if you're leaning into the weapon, you're going to control that recoil. So you could physically, if you pay attention, Jacob, this is Jacob's feet here. He's got that 1 foot just a little further than the front foot than his dominant foot. His dominant foot's a little back. So the idea of this, I would tell you, is he does this because he's crazy. No, I'm just kidding. He does this just because that's the way he's been doing it forever. He's been shooting a long time. This is what he likes. But his foot isn't all the way back behind it, and he does give himself mobility. Idea of this stance is an athletic stance. The athletic stance gives us mobility. He can move right. He can move left. He can move forward. He can move backwards. Makes it simple and easy for you. This weekend, last Saturday, we did an advanced concealed carry course here And one of the drills we were doing is getting off the X, and you had to get away at an angle and then get to cover afterwards. And when you have people standing in weird positions, you're going to most likely cross your feet, which could cause you tripping hazards. Where if you keep your feet attached to the ground and just slide them backwards, chances of you tripping are going to be like less. So pay attention to your stance. Because, if you really think about when I said this a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I don't remember what it was. Shooting is a foundational sport. And that foundation goes from the feet to the weapon, and from the weapon to the feet. And those foundation needs to be the same. Because if you mess something up in the middle of it, you're not really building the proper thing. Imagine if they put 3 brick walls up and they decided to do straw on one side because they ran out of brick. Is that house going to be strong? Is it going to be a good foundation there? Or is it going to be a challenge for that home? This is what we're talking about. So we need to get that foundation all the way through the gun and all the way back to you. It's key. We're at 11 people watching, 11 people. That's awesome. We appreciate that. Make sure you're commenting on those 11 people if you have an opportunity. Let us know where you're from, if it's the first time you're on here, and any comments you have about this. All right, number 4 is practicing proper sight alignment. We've talked multiple times about this, but realistically, we always want to cover. I want to we did this today. Many people think that the bullet flies in a straight line. It doesn't. It flies in an arc. So, and the scenario is we want to ensure the front sight is centered in the rear notch. And if you pay attention to the backside of this Glock, what I want you to really focus on is the top sight, the one in the front, and the ones in the back. One is not higher than the other. And remember, we talked about you can't use your wrist to aim the gun. Imagine if you had that weapon in your hand and you had that front post lower than your back post. Well, that's where it's going to impact. And vice versa. If you had the front post higher and the back post lower. So I always tell people, imagine the front and back, just the top of it being level. And if it is level, the weapon's going to shoot level. The challenge most of the time, that sight system on a pistol makes the gun front and back level, but right and left, it levels it too. Check the negative space out between where the box is in the back and the front post up front. There's that negative space, and we got to make sure that negative space is equal to the sides. Because if you have it closer to one side and not the other, you're going to have the angle out of the vise, and that's where the impact's going to happen. And this is normally what happens to people who are right-handed. They'll set the weapon in their hand. Maybe they don't have the gun directly down their arm. That's a good way to think about it. I put it in my hand. I want to make sure it goes down my arm, and it's not over my knuckle or it's not over my fingerhead. So you want to make sure the gun goes in your hand level. That means when you go to engage the trigger, that it's going to be the most level shot you can. Practice proper sight alignment. You do to practice it. It seems like it would be elementary, but there is a lot of challenging. So we have recoil management we have to control as well. Ensure the front sight is centered in the rear sight notch. So earlier this afternoon, a lady asked me, well, I can't really see my front post and my back post and the target. Well, you're right, you can't. Your eyes won't focus on everything. So let me give you a vision real quick. What you need to think about is the back sight needs to be blurry, the target needs to be blurry, and the front post needs to be crystal clear. I want you to focus on that target that front post as best you can. Front sight focus is what we call this. You got to make sure it's level, but you don't need to get super critical on up and down, right and left kind of deal. Because remember, level pistol shoots level, but you got to visually see it. Imagine at 2 o'clock in the morning, are you actually putting your glasses on to shoot the bad guy? Or could you maybe have to do it without your glasses on? And there becomes our little things we're going to think about. You don't need it. During the class, in the tactical class we did on Saturday, we did a lot of drills called point shooting drills. And people get too carried away on a sight on a system versus just point shooting. We don't need sights to shoot a pistol. The sights on a pistol are there for your convenience. That red dot's there for your convenience, but you need to know how to shoot the pistol without them. Just like if you're right-handed, you need to know how to shoot the pistol left-handed, and vice versa. If you're left-handed, you need to shoot the weapon right-handed, and that includes racking the slide and taking the magazine out. Because if you got into some situation where you got impacted by something and lost your dominant hand, but you're still in the battle, you need to figure out how you're going to run that gun with your non-dominant hand. And asking your left-handed students to do anything right-handed, it's pretty simple and easy because most of the lefties are ambidextrous. Comment below. Tell me when's the last time you shot with your non-dominant hand. Maybe rack the slide or even took the magazine out with the wrong hand. Vice versa, right? That's kind of one of those things you need to practice on a regular basis, because when you get in the critical defense situation, you're going to fall back to your weakest training. If that weakest training is a very lackluster, well, that's what you're going to have is lackluster, which is probably something you don't need, because in a critical defense situation, your mind's going to shut off, your body's going to shut off everything they don't think is necessary. So it's not going to be able to think like you would want it to think. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I want you to go home. Well, you're at home probably now. If not, you're getting home. I want you to take 6 or 7 ice cubes. I want you to fill the sink up full of water. I want you to take those ice cubes and I want you to put them in the sink with water. All right. Now I want you to take your weapon out. I want you to put it on the kitchen table. Make sure there's no ammo in the room at all. No ammo. All right. Just an empty magazine. Now, I want you to put your hands in that water almost until you can't stand it. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Now, I want you to quickly try to rack the slide, or quickly try to load the magazine and see how numb your hands are. This is what we're talking about. This is the stuff we need to practice on a regular basis, because in a high stress situation, you may have numb hands, you may have numb feet, you may be cold or stuff like that. These are things that have to be done on a regular basis to make you more confident. We got to practice it all, guys, because we don't know exactly what it's going to be. All right, proper sight alignment, very important. All right. Number 5 is trigger control. We talked about this already, but it's a slow press. Just press the trigger to the rear without disturbing the front sights. How many of you dry fire? That's the key thing we got to get our head around. Make sure you spend some time dry firing, understanding how much trigger travel there is in the weapon, and get it back on a very clean, crisp trigger without dipping the front post or doing anything at all. That's important. Most people don't spend enough time understanding how far the trigger needs to come prior to the weapon firing. The more you spend time doing that, the more you'll understand the length or the trigger travel to get you to the point. Now, when I take a weapon in the back and I push it out in front of me, I'm already pulling some of the slack out of that trigger. So when I go to full extension, I have very little trigger travel left, which allows me to keep the gun level and a smoother trigger engagement. That slow press is going to help make us more accurate than any kind of slamming of the trigger. You know this as well as I do. Any kind of manipulation of the trigger causes a lot of cattywampus. Cattywampus? That's a pretty good word. I'm not sure if it's going to work for this, but anything you do to that gun, it's going to manipulate even more when you're actually slamming it or pushing it or pulling it versus just slow press. Slow press. So what's that mean? I'll give you a cadence drill. The cadence drill, I use this a lot in classes to get people to understand. The cadence is the speed I want you to engage the trigger. And it's a 1, 2, 3. And what does that mean? 1, 2, 3. That means 1 is sticking your finger on the trigger. 2 is applying pressure. That means taking the slack out. And 3 is letting the weapon fire. And then as the gun settles, you're going to start that 1, 2, 3 again. That's what I do when I'm in the back there. 1, 2, 3. The weapon engages. 1, 2, 3. The weapon engages. You'll be surprised how accurate you can be in that. Because now you're working the system. You're working the cadence. You're working the speed that gets that trigger back very slowly and gets to a point where it's going to cut. And that shot should, at a certain point, you'll start understanding how much pressure I need to put on this trigger to make it cut or to make it fire. Number 5, trigger control. All right. A lot of people ask this all the time: should I breathe? Should I hold my breath? Well, most new students, it happened this afternoon, yesterday too. The ladies turn around and, first they come into the gun range. They haven't shot a pistol before. They're white as a ghost. They're scared to death, which I get it. I mean, it's something that they haven't done before. They're nervous and everything else like that. But then as they're trying to shoot the weapon, they're holding their breath. And they turn around afterwards and that was good. But you need to breathe because I'm looking at them and they're red in the face like they've been holding their breath for 5 shots. And it doesn't seem like much, but when you got high stress and you're nervous and you're holding your breath, it becomes something. So there's an acronym that's used in the NRA and a couple of places, but I kind of put this in here. This is more in line of longer distance shooting, but breathe, relax, aim, and squeeze. So squeeze, I took this from the NRA because of it's the acronym they use, BRASS, BRASS, breathe, relax, aim, and squeeze. So does it really affect you at 10 feet and 15 feet? I guess if you held your breath, you could start heaving during shots and stuff like that. Consider taking a small breath, take a deep breath, exhale halfway, hold it while you shoot. Yeah, one shot, great. As you get further along, it could be a little bit more intimidating because you're not catching your breath well enough. But breathing control is one of the things we got to work at. The more comfortable you become with the firearm, the more confidence you build, the less anticipation you're going to have. And this is where they blame it on the breathing, they blame it on a lot of stuff, but majority of the time it's just not feeling comfortable with the weapon, what causes most people to have some inaccuracy with a pistol, whether they're slamming the trigger or pulling the trigger or just manipulating the weapon too deep in and just getting in, just becoming more confident. With confidence comes accuracy. I promise you that. Once you get comfortable with the weapon, accuracy will not be a problem for many people. It's mathematics. There's a lot to it. Once you get it, you got it. And that's the cool thing about working with an instructor, because an instructor will help you through all these little tiny little tricks to make you a better shooter. All right. Relax your grip. Avoid gripping the gun too tightly. This is kind of one of those weird deals, which can cause the shots to be pulled low and left. Now, pay attention to this grip here, and that's kind of what I was showing you before with the proper grip on the other side. This grip, Jacob, has his thumbs crossed. He has his thumb, dominant hand thumb, buried underneath his non-dominant thumb. Which, if you think about that, if you look at his non-dominant hand and look right where his thumb is and his trigger finger would be, right? Look at that big gap right there. Do you think he's going to have good control of this weapon? Do you think he's going to get that dominant hand to really hold on to the weapon with his non-dominant hand and having that big gap? We got to make sure we're gripping that gun as well as we can. We need to get as much meat around this pistol as possible. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to back up to show you the other grip. That way you can see it real quick. There is the tight grip one. Let's back up here. And let's see if I can get back here. That one we had. Boom, 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 boom. What's happening? Why is it doing that? 7. Tip 3. Okay. Tip 4. Oh, how retarded is this? 1 second, folks. Let me back out of this real quick. I can get a show there. There we go. See that thumbs? Those thumbs right there. Let's back in. See how those thumbs are touching each other? There's no gapping center here. And if we go back to that one that we just had a second ago, look at that. See the two differences? That you could see right off the bat that this grip would not be very good for shooting because you're not going to control it. Do me a favor. Go ahead and comment below if this is your grip. This is your grip. We can fix you pretty well. Most people can shoot a gun like this. Most men can. Most women won't be able to because they can't control the weapon well enough. Men can shittily hold the gun and shoot it okay, or a woman has to really work at it. And that would be very challenging for anybody to really become more proficient, especially out longer distances, because he is not allowing his non-dominant hand to control the weapon. That grips his dominant hand is the only thing controlling the weapon, which is going to cause some major inaccuracies. Visualize your shots. I mean, this is getting in the mental rehearsals. This is things we need to visualize. I always tell people, when you come to the range, what were you thinking? What was the idea of today's range time? Was it just come to put rounds down range and blast away? Well, there's times for that, I guess. Some people do it. They just want to take some stress away and they want to come back and blast, blast, blast. But how many of you are really planning out your range time, planning out your time, visualizing each thing you plan to do to become more proficient with a pistol? This is a job if you think about it. Most people didn't grow up shooting. Most people didn't grow up becoming a better shooter by just winging it. You've got to spend time doing it and rehearsing and the process, improving your focus, visualizing everything you need to do, and get those drills that really going to embed you in becoming a better shooter. The grip, the stance, the trigger control, the sight pictures, sight alignment, tip of the finger, slowly pressing it all. Remember, we talk foundation, 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 but we got to visualize the shot before you take it. Mentally rehearse the product, improve your focus, and just find out what's happening. Why is it happening? There's a full chapter in the book that we made on what's causing it, each little part of it, and then we talked about how to fix it. And there's all kinds of stuff on how to fix it as well, which is kind of a cool little deal. And I did not mention to you, but if anybody purchases one of those books, we're going to do a full shout out as well as put your name in a hat for some of our swag that we are going to give away at the end of the month here. We're going to take all the names of people who bought books, and we're going to put your name in a hat, and we're going to do some swag stuff for you. Put a bunch of swag together to ship off to a bunch of people. We appreciate you very much for doing that stuff. Not only are you supporting us, you're supporting my family as well, and you get something tangible for it. You know, we have memberships that are $2.99. People do that all the time, and we appreciate that very much. But this is something we're offering to you to educate yourself, become a better shooter. All right. So number 10, number 9 tip is to get professional training. A lot of people don't have the monetary amount of money. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of price points on instructors. There are some that do it for very a lot of money. There's some people who cost, very little. I don't think I'm the cheapest guy in town, but for me, I don't need to make all my money on a training class because we are a gun store, gun range, training facility. We have range time. There's a lot of income streams, not including the YouTube income stream, not including the books and all the other stuff, the t-shirts and things that we sell on a regular basis. There's a lot of income streams popping into us. So the gun store down the street that does not have a gun range needs to make a little bit more money selling a firearm because they don't have a range inside. I can make a little less on my firearms due to the fact that I have range time that people pay for and I have training classes that people pay for. And so there's a lot of different things I have to offer, which in turn I could charge more for it. But at the end of it, if I'm treating you with respect and I'm giving you a good price, I don't have to fight my competition, if that makes sense. Because you're going to want to come here and you're going to want to spend the time and you're going to want to get our services. So that's how So let's talk about getting professional training. There are a lot of ways to do this. I've mentioned to you before, but there are two major instructor companies that I highly recommend that you look at. And obviously the NRA. And then I am a certified NRA instructor with multiple credentials. And I'm a United States Concealed Carry Association instructor. And so is Jacob. So is Heidi. So is Johnny. And one of the young ladies that we have on our calls most of the time, Natasha. We had them come to us and we did a class and we all got certified over a weekend. We had to do class work and training time and shooting time. So we all are certified here. Reason why I'm telling you this, probably the easiest way to find an instructor is hit the NRA or hit the United States Concealed Carry Association and go ahead and hit their find an instructor with a zip code in your area, and they'll either have certified instructors that already got training classes available, or they'll be able to give you a name of somebody in the area. This is where I would start. And if you don't have anybody in your area, I would hit any of the gun stores in town that have ranges. I'm sure they have some kind of instructor or certified instructor that either works for them or with them to help you get your practice you need. At the end of it, our job as firearms instructors is to make you as comfortable and proficient as possible. My job is not to change you. My job is to help you become more proficient. Move a little bit here, change a little bit there. That's when someone comes to me and goes, I don't know anything about pistols. That's the greatest student in the world. Because I don't have any bad habits I need to break prior to getting them to be comfortable with a pistol. compared to someone who's been shooting his whole life and then comes in and tries to become more proficient. We are 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, because they always pick up something in the past. You're going to fall back to your weakest training when you don't have any training. It becomes pretty easy for us when there's a training thing to break it all the way down and get it out of your head and start you in a uh, new foundation. It becomes a little more challenging. But the greatest thing ever is, even though you spend money on a professional, most of the professionals are going to save you money in the long run. What do I mean by that? Well, a bullet, 9mm, 28 cents a round. Let's look at your last training class you did last time you went to the range. Let's say you shot 150 rounds or 200 rounds. 200 rounds for us, they're 28 cents. It's 20. So let's say there's $28 for 100. So there is about $60, 59, 58, $59, right? And let's say let's be good. Let's say you were 60% accurate, right? 60 is passing. But what if an instructor could make you 85 to 90% of it? Today, those 9 students we talked about today, at 10 feet, 6-inch paper plate, we were solid. There was no bad rounds. They all hit the paper plate. And that has to do with us getting them to run the foundation to be comfortable. Now, obviously, as we get further back and further back, we got to really be proficient. Now, I'm not bragging. I'm just telling these guys, if they pay attention to what they're doing and press the trigger, which we help them tremendously in this, you can be at 80, 85, 90% accuracy. So you don't need to shoot 200 rounds. Realistically, in my opinion, if you're shooting over 100 rounds at the range, you're picking up some bad habits. Because you think about this, if I'm having you, let's go golfing, right? When you shoot 18 holes. We go in the clubhouse and they give us another 18. Do you think we're going to shoot better than the first 18? The answer is no, you're not going to. So that's kind of what I will tell you. Trick number 1, tip number 1 would be 5 shots at a time. Even though the magazine will hold 15, what's it matter? You don't need to put 15 rounds in the gun. Just shoot the 5, assess what's going on, make sure you make your adjustments, load the magazine, shoot 5 more. Take your time. This isn't a race, right? In a real world situation, we don't have accuracy. We don't have sights. We don't have anything. We're just pointing and shooting. But we need to get comfortable with the weapon, and an instructor will get you there without costing your arm or leg. Do not get involved in all these big, high, fancy defensive classes until you, like this weekend, we had the defensive class. You got to understand your weapon and become proficient enough, because when we start moving with a gun, your accuracy rate drops. So let's say you were at 60% accurate. Now we start moving with the gun. What's that make you? 40% accurate? So that means all the bullets are now going places you don't want them to go. So it's very important that you get proficient before you go taking any kind of tactical class, right? We don't call our classes tactical anyways. We call them enhanced, because we're an indoor range. We don't have this movement like an outdoor place or anything else like that, but we're more intimate and it makes it a lot easier. We had 6 people. My wife was in one of them. My Tasha was in another. And then we had 4 men. And of course, the women outshot the men. My buddy Tommy was in it. And Tommy's, God, he was retired from UPS, and the man cannot miss. I mean, he impresses me every time we shoot. So, I mean, we were doing no sights, point shooting, all the way up to 30 feet. We're 11 yards to the backside of our range. We're 11 yards. and Tommy had the thing deep into our metal trap back there. It was not using his sights and was hitting the target and tight. So Tommy spent a lot of time doing that, but that was pretty impressive. But get trained, guys. I like to tell you, I trained Tommy and told him everything he had. We've shot a lot together. He's taken a lot of classes with us, but that's a natural thing. There are some people who are just natural shooters, and Tom is one of them. Thank you, Tommy, for being here, buddy. All right, number 10. What is it? Practice, 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 practice. The more you shoot, the better you'll become at addressing and correcting your shotting errors. Tell me last time you went shooting, did you feel a bad shot? Could you tell a bad shot from a good shot? That's all I do in the back all the time when I'm watching somebody. Once I get them shooting, okay, I said that was a pull. Did you feel it? And they're, oh, okay, yeah. Because once you start realizing or understanding what's bad and what's good, because a lot of times when we're doing all this stuff, you have no concept. You just want to do it perfect. You just want to do it right. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want anybody to get hurt, and you're just nervous, right? So you just can't feel that pull there, that anticipation, or that recoil management, or that thudding or thumbing the gun, or doing all that stuff. You just don't see it until you just do it on a regular basis. And once you do it, then you can start understanding. When it just becomes part of your routine to come in and put 15 rounds and shoot 15 rounds, that's when you start losing. Remember, every time we touch this gun, we're picking up a habit. Make sure it's a good habit, not a bad habit. The more bad habits we have, the harder it is to break them. The harder it is to get out of it. Because most people don't think, well, that was a great shot or that was a bad shot. They just think I'm shooting. And that's the wrong way to think about it. Pick a drill. If you can't think of drills, guys, my YouTube channel has a full playlist of drills, low round count drills, whether it be a 3x5 card or a little dot circle or anything else like that are on there to give you time to be proficient and understand what's causing it. The more time we spend becoming more proficient, the easier our confidence gets built, and the less likely are we going to have the anticipation and the low press and the low recoil management and causing the gun to tip and do all crazy stuff. All right, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. All right, in conclusion, these 10 tips to help you improve your accuracy and stop those frustrating low and left shots. From proper grip to stance, mastering trigger control, we've got you covered. Say goodbye to those pesky low and left shots and start hitting your target with confidence. And that magic word with the exclamation point means everything. Confidence. How confident, comment below, how confident are you if I were to put a paper plate out at 25? Could you hit 5 out of 5? And this is what we did in the drills we have to find our defensive accuracy. Think about this. I'm asking you, if I put a 3x5 card out there or a 6-inch paper plate, how confident you at 3 yards? Will all 5 go in there? Well, good. Then stop practicing the 3 yards on the. But if you get back to 5, maybe 21, 3, 5, and 7 yards. Now, once you get past 7, you got to really start thinking about it. Now you get to 7. Can you get to 7 yards? If 7 yards, and then 10 yards, can you get to 10 yards? And then after 10 yards, really should you be shooting at a bad guy with a pistol after 10 yards? And the answer is probably no. Because the chances of you becoming proficient with that gun in a high-stress situation. Remember, as a bad guy, they're not responsible for anything. They don't care. As a good guy with a gun, you're responsible for your bullet until it hits the ground. What it hits, what it hurts, what it aims, what it paralyzes, you're civilly, criminally, morally responsible. Spending the time to be proficient, is your responsibility. If you plan to carry a gun for you and your loved ones, which you should, you need to spend enough time behind that weapon to be confident and controllable that you can do what you need to do. Low and left is not what we want. Because unfortunately, if you Kentucky windage, you always shoot low and left, so you shoot high and right to impact the middle of the target. You don't want to do that. Because at one time that you do not pull the trigger or do anything crazy, that's where that bullet's going. And you're pointing that bullet out there in no man's land. All right. I hope that was fun. I hope it answered a lot of questions. I hope it gave you a bunch of stuff to think about. That's all I do about these things. We kind of want to help tremendously get you become more proficient with a pistol. But a lot of stuff we do is one of those things will help you become more and more and more proficient and become more confident. And trust me, with confidence comes everything, guys. Let's pop this out of here. All right, beautiful. All right, so let's go up and look at the comments if you don't mind. I hope you guys enjoyed this evening. All right, so we talked about that and that. I'm going to put that link up, let that just you guys to see it if you want to see it. Okay, Tristan Millers. Good audio, thank you. Southern Illinois. Awesome. Ralph, right-handed, right-eye dominant. Way to go, Ralph. Hello from Brazil again. Nice, Ralph. That's a couple weeks in a row. Papa Weasel, what's up, buddy? Hey, he's a natural. He's been here for a while. Thank you. John Grimm. I noticed different pistols. John's saying something here. Let's see what John has to say. I noticed that different pistols have different trigger placements. You're right. Different triggers, shapes. Old, so I got to scan in here, zoom in here a little bit. Let's see if I can get it back over here, if I can read it. All right, different shapes. Whichever pistol one chooses, the user preference, but grip and trigger control ensures accuracy. You're beautiful. That's right, man. That's right. I can't believe how terrible my eyes are. But I guess we get the lights off in here. We get these can lights showing to make me look prettier on the camera. But it doesn't help me see in the backside of that. You are 100% there, John Grimm. Each pistol has a different thing and each trigger has a different. That's the thing about pistols. We, as a firearms instructor that allows people to shoot pistols before they buy them, man, how many people will tell you to buy a Glock, get a Glock, buy a Glock, buy a Glock. But Glocks has the hardest trigger of all of them, really, because it's a loadable trigger, which means, first of all, it has that trigger safety on the front of it. And if you've never shot one of those, they tend to they tend to make a crease on the finger. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in the day, the 43X, when it first came out, everybody was in love with that thing. And I was a Smith & Wesson Shield guy. There was nothing better than a Shield to me. And I was the Shield seller. And my boss at the time, he goes, would you try the Glock to see if it is it? So I took the Glock out. And it's all right. So, I went back to my Shield pretty quickly. And so weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and we were selling a shitload of them. We were taking people out, and I had a range at the time, an outdoor range, and we take people out, we let them shoot them, and people were buying them. Then after about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we were changing out the trigger to something else because that trigger was causing so much pinchiness to the finger. And I used to say, well, suck it up, buttercup. That's the gun. You're going to build a callus, and the more you build the callus, the easier it is. This right here on my finger, right here, is my Glock bump. It's a callus I built many years because I would hold that weapon high on the tang, and that some once in a while that Glock would reach up there and bite me. And it wasn't I was holding on to the gun wrong. It's just the way I grip the Glock the angle of that grip. I've never had that happen except for Glocks. So my I was at a gun show and a guy had a Glock 43X that he wanted to trade in, optic ready, MOS, and he wanted to buy something else. So I bought the gun and I ended up carrying that MOS Glock while I was at the show. The Glock guy who puts all the barrels and fanciness into it, I had him. I gave him $250. I said, "Pretty it up for me, just the hell of it to do it." He put this and he put that and he put this and he put a barrel and he put, the optics and he did this and he put a slide on it. Well, I shot that thing for about 6 months and my finger was freaking killing me. Now, all those people that I picked on for suck it up, Buttercup, that's what I kept saying to myself, suck it up, Buttercup. Well, I ended up selling to Noah, my son's best friend, because I hated that freaking gun. It hurt my finger so bad. And so Glocks are one of those weird ones. They have a weird trigger. But as you get down to it, it's a user preference thing, like he said, and the grips and everything else. It sure does make a difference when the gun makes that whole when you put the gun in your hand and it just speaks to you, then it just speaks to you guys. And that's not a gun I could say, well, this gun or that gun or this or this. And we sell a lot of Smiths. I mean, I hate to tell you that, but that equalizer, I put that against any weapon in the market today. When I see a 74-year-old woman, which happened today, shoot a quarter at 3 yards, 9 feet, 10 feet, and be able to shoot a quarter, and she had shot a pistol before, that's not her, that's the pistol. And that's how good that gun is. And as an instructor who sells firearms to seniors on a regular basis, we do a lot of women's, we do a lot of senior shooters. And I can tell you both of those, that husband and wife went home with a pair of those. Didn't need to buy a pair of them, but they went home with a pair of them. They will not have a problem with those pistols, and they'll be shooting them an awful long time. We buy a gun for 20 years, and her being 72 or whatever, 72, I think it was, there ain't going to be 20 years. And I hate to be rude like that, but in those 20 years, she's not going to have any dexterity issues that she needs to go down to something that's going to be easier. There's no way a 72 or 73 or 74-year-old woman is going to run a revolver. The revolvers are easy and simple, correct, but they got a lot of recoil. And the safety on a revolver is that 10-pound trigger pull, which becomes very hard for some women to engage the trigger. Thank you, John Grimm, for making a comment. We appreciate that very much. You are the best, my friend. Natasha was at the show. Yes, Mom and I are here. Thank you. Natasha's one of our mainstays. She's one of our first members through our live here, and we appreciate you very much. Kenny Morris from Cape Coral. Thank you, Kenny. Glad you're on the live tonight. Thank you very much. Kenny, have you been in the store before, sir? Have you been here to shoot? If not, make sure you contact us. We'd love to have you, buddy. We're open 7 days a week for range time. Monday through Thursday from 1 o'clock to close. And then from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's range time all day. Come see us, my friend. Mention that you were on the live, and we'll help you out. All right? Give you a little bit of a break. Come shoot with us, my friend. Skywalker, thank you, sir. Thank you. Give me that smiley face. We appreciate that. TJ Meyer. Oh, thank you, TJ. I'm thinking about buying your book. Perhaps my wife will listen to you because she doesn't always listen to me when it comes to shooting. That is true, my friend. That is true. Let me tell you, your wife's probably seen you do some stupid ass shit, and she just wants you to teach you to shoot a gun. I'm picking on you, TJ. I'm picking on you, buddy. It's a lot easier for me to tell her than it is for you, my friend. Obviously we love our women. We love our wives, our better halves. My world would be nothing without her. She gave me two beautiful kids, but there's certain things we just can't do together. I'm very happy. Shooting's not one of them. She is an excellent shot. Shoots really really well, and I was lucky enough to get to train her with a bunch of women in the old range, and I didn't tell any of the women she was my wife. So we kind of she was able to do the class, not being my wife. So it was kind of a nice little deal there, but definitely would benefit TJ her either taking a class with us or the two of you taking a class together would be ideal. Because for women, it's she just wants to be confident, and the more confident she is with a weapon, the easier it is. Thank you, TJ. Appreciate it very much. The link will be in our description of this live here, and it will be in any of our YouTube links. You just click the book itself in the shop down below any of our videos. It'll be there as well, and we appreciate you there. Anybody who purchases a book will get a shout out from us at the end of the month. We'll put every name in a hat, and we'll pull out some swag stuff that we're going to send you guys. Thanks, TJ. Appreciate that. TJ said, great video. Thanks, John. We appreciate you very much. Kenny Morse, thank you. Appreciate that. Agree. Should have the ability to defend themselves. Yeah. John, he agreed that everyone should have the ability to defend themselves, and the Equalizer is a fantastic pistol. You are correct there, 100%. 100%. Well, we went overboard this week. 100. We're an hour and 16 minutes in. I apologize about that. I'm glad I get talking on this stuff. I don't know if it comes across as my passion, but it is a true passion of mine. I love teaching students. The whole running the business thing is fun. Eating peanut butter and jelly once in a while when I'm not making all the money I need to make. I don't complain about that because I'm in love with what I do, and I hope it shows. As a firearms instructor, my job is to build your guys' confidence to the point of that you're not going to have any issues or you're not going to run into anything. And then, as like TJ's talking and everything else, your job, guys, is to work together as a husband and wife or husband and husband or a wife and a wife. I don't really care about all that stuff. Your job is to be your first line of defense. I say it all the time. It's in every tagline I've been talking that crap my whole life. God bless, be safe, and remember you are your first line of defense because it is your job. It isn't some cop's job to save your life. That whole week after that hurricane when there's no lights on and it's dark as hell outside and you don't have a firearm to defend yourself, you surely wish you had one. We sold a bunch of them after that. But realistically, just buying a gun is not the answer. It's becoming the proficiency. It's becoming the best you can be. That's why these YouTube channels and the videos and the books and all that stuff, you can't get to me. All that stuff's for free except the book. And for $9.99, I mean, come on. It's pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. It's a good read and it's backed up with the videos we talked about on a regular basis. Over 10,000 subscribers have this same problem. And I think Jake and I got to, there's 6,000 or 7,000 comments between the 6 or 7 videos in regards to questioning why and how can I stop it? What can I do? It's hard to read a book and say, yes, this is what's going to cause the problem. People learn 3 ways, and I've learned this multiple times as a firearms instructor in the back of the room here. I'm always asking the student, does this make sense to you? Because some people learn by doing, by hands-on, right? Some people can take the instructions, read it, and do it. And somehow, some people have to do all of it. They have to do it, they have to read it, they have to see it. And that's what the cool thing about the book's going to be. And the books, I keep saying books, because we're going to do one on grip, we're going to do one on stance, we're going to do one on sight picture, and we're going to do one on sight alignment. It's hard to break them down, but there's such a science to each piece of this. It's pizza is made, the fat guy talking about food now, but the pizza is made in a circle, and all the stuff's put on the top of the circle, and it's cut in sections where you can consume it. You're not going to be able to consume the pizza if it isn't cut, right? So the idea of this is we're going to cut the pizza. Yeah, we're gonna have pizza tonight. I'm already telling you that we're having pizza. My wife's back there, so you're gonna consume the pizza as long as it's cut properly, and none of this square shit, right? It's a triangle. You cut pizzas at a triangle, but the concept more than anything else, so we cut the pizza in little pieces. We're able to consume it a lot better. All right, it's been a great one, guys. I love you guys very much. I think we're gonna end it there. Oh, TJ said you're on spot, John. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that, TJ. We'll go up top here. Say goodbye to everybody. Todd, Tristan, appreciate you very much, buddy. Southern Illinois. Ralph from Brazil, thank you very much. Papa Weasel, always, buddy. You've been a loyal one. John Grimm, thank you, my friend. Tasha and Tasha's mama. Hope you're doing well, mama. Tasha's a great student. She gardens, she gyms, and she guns. That's her little deal there. One of the lives many months ago we did was women only live, and Tasha was there for that. Kenny Morris, thank you. Skywalker, thank you. TJ Myers, thank you very much. John Grimm and Ralph, many thanks, John. God bless you guys. Have a great evening. Get to the range. Get out shooting. Get a chance. Purchase this book. Help us out tremendously. Do not forget Aura. Aura is giving you that 14-day trial. Guys, it costs you very little. Think about the 1 out of 4 are going to have some kind of online threat that we're not going to be able to solve by ourselves. And it happens on a regular. They can protect your social security number. They can protect all of your software. It's a pretty easy thing to do, and it's very economical. And those are great things. And they sponsor us in these videos. So to help us out, if you'll do one of these things, it tremendously supports them. And they step out and reach out to us as businesses and allow us to fund some of these videos, which helps us out tremendously. Until next time, guys, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. Outro video coming. Love you guys. See you next week.